And welcome in. It's the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating here on the game. Chris Clark driving this thing around for you for a little while today, and going to be talking, as we have been over the last couple weeks here, to some Gamecock football athletes, which always excited to do. And first couple segments today, we're going to be chatting with Michael Smith from South Carolina football, tight end going into year 2. And Mike, appreciate you taking time to join me, man. How's everything going?
It's going good. I appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for making time out of your busy schedule to do this. First of all, let's go ahead and hit this right off the top. I mean, Coach Beamer mentioned, I know the team's locked into spring ball. He mentioned at the beginning of the spring you weren't going to be going through spring ball, so you don't have to go into detail or anything, but how are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Like if it was up to me, I'd still be out there, but I'm not trying to rush anything, trying to take every precaution. So I'm feeling great. Rehab going smooth. So, I just can't wait to be out there now.
Yeah, good deal, man. Well, glad to hear you're doing well. So we got a lot of ground to cover with you, and the first thing I want to do is just kind of, look back on last season, because true freshman, you were able to play a bunch of snaps as a true freshman for a team that, had some upperclassmen at tight end as well, and Josh Simon and Brady Hunt and some other guys obviously on this roster, Maurice Brown, et cetera. And you were able to break through as a true freshman and play some ball for this club. So, how did that feel, just kind of transitioning from the high school level all the way up to the SEC and being able to play in your first year?
It felt great. Like, going into, fall camp, I was like, man, my main goal is like, I want to play. And that was specialties, cool. But like, I want to get that ball. But it felt great. Like, I felt like everything paid off. Like, it was smooth.
Yeah. So, I mean, what was the biggest transition for you? You obviously played, I mean, for those that don't know, you played at a high school in Savannah, and like you played with a bunch of D1 guys. You play against a bunch of guys, a bunch of schools that had Division I talent. So you were used to it from that standpoint, but you step up to the SEC. It's not just some guys are D1 or some guys are SEC caliber. It's all of them, right? So I mean, what was the biggest, like, was there something you could point to that was maybe the biggest adjustment that you had to make going to that level?
Blocking, man.
Yeah.
High school, like every now and then I block like, somebody like that's like that. Like,
Yeah.
feel me? But like it's like I got here and it's like everybody's like that. And like I ain't had to block that many consistent dudes like that. So it was something new and I wasn't used to it just yet.
Yeah. Well, I remember, so I came down to Savannah the day that you announced your commitment to South Carolina out of high school. And I remember, I don't think it was that day. It was another interview, and you were talking to my colleague, Wes, who's on, works with me at Gamecock Central, who's on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour here on the game with me. And, he was talking about your pass catching skill, and you're like, oh, I like to block too. You kind of reminded us about that.
Yeah, like I can block. I do it. Like
Yeah.
I ain't have a problem doing it, but it's like sometimes them dudes be some dudes, and it's like, hey, let's put the ball. Let's throw me the ball a little bit, just switch it up a little bit.
You got to keep them honest. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, man, I feel like when you play for Sean Elliott, who is, he spent a lot of his career as an O-line coach and a run game coordinator and like a big run game guy. I feel like it's probably not optional to be in his room and block, right? Like you got to do it, right?
Yeah, if we might watch some film, and even if like the Tiger might not even do nothing on the rep, it's like, all right, now let's talk about this defensive front. How would you block? Like you're gonna learn something, and even if it's nothing to learn, you're gonna learn something.
Well, what is? I mean, I'm always fascinated to talk to guys who play for Elliott, because I mean, just obviously his energy level, and he's a Gamecock guy through and through, back here for the second time as a coach. But what really stands out about his style, or maybe what are some of the biggest takeaways you've had being coached by him?
Man, his passion, like,
yeah,
if it's anything, like he gonna coach you. Like it really gotta be hard. He gonna talk to you. Like, man, you gonna hear what he's trying to tell you, and like he gonna be passionate about it. Like once you do it, it's like he gonna let you know, like, yeah, you did that one, but like if you don't do it, he gonna let you know that too. So it's like you just gotta, as long as you can match his energy to a sense, like you'll be fine. But you gotta match his energy, and that's kind of hard to do.
Now, does he still do the pregame, like, I don't even know how to describe it. You know, when he was a head coach and when he was an O-line coach, he would like to kind of like a little mosh pit before the games. Like,
Yeah.
does he still get y'all all riled up? Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was everybody will sit there locked in, and here he comes. Yeah. It's just a matter of when he comes. So it's just once he's in there, like they go the energy right there. Now it's time. It's go time now.
Are you kind of on the, like, you trying to do your thing on the sideline before the game? Are you kind of keeping an eye, like a little side eye, trying to look out for him barreling towards you or something? Like, are you kind of having to be a little bit aware? Because, man,
Yeah, you got to be aware because you got to wait for his, like, pregame is like he ready for the game. Once the ball get kicked off, he calmed down a little bit. So you got to watch out for him until that ball get kicked off.
So I want to give you he's not here anymore, obviously, because he got a head coaching job, but I want to give you a chance to shout out Coach Jody Wright, because the head guy at Murray State now, but I know he had a big hand in recruiting you here, and we've had him actually on the show since he got to Murray. I feel like everybody loves Coach Jody Wright. Like, how big of a factor was he in your recruiting process back then?
Man, that was my dog. Like, after every game, it was like, let me tell Jody that I had 3 touchdowns again. Like, you know, it was just like, let me keep him up digging. Like Jody was like, he was my dog, man. Like he was helping me. Like if I had a question, he didn't even hesitate to like let me know. Like the communication, you felt the love from him just through phone calls and like just coming to my school and visits. Like we was just talking, we could just talk. It didn't even have to be about football or just recruiting anything. It was just we was talking.
Well, I know, one thing, when you committed to South Carolina, committed pretty early from what I remember, but man, other schools did not give up. Like I remember you had Auburn, I remember you had Tennessee, and like not trying to say anything to try to get you in trouble or anything, but like, was it ever like kind of like, did it get a little bit like hairy and then for you? Like, cause I know you took some other visits and things like that. They kind of had you thinking a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. It wasn't even thinking. Like, I just wanted to go to games.
Yeah.
I just wanted to like Auburn. I was like, yeah, let me start talking to Auburn because I wanted to go to that Iron Bowl game. Like that. What was it? 4th and forever when they just like I just wanted to go to that game like that. And Tennessee and Bama, I was like, yeah, like Jake still talked to Tennessee. Like, hey man, let me come to the game. Like, that was all it was. I wanted to go to a couple of games.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay. Yeah. I kind of got the sense that, people were worried around here, but I kind of got the sense you seemed pretty locked in. But I mean, at the same time, man, like you only get to go through that process, the high school process once, Yeah. So is that kind of how you looked at it? Like, man, I got to like go enjoy this part of it.
Yeah. It was just like, I locked in January of 2023 and like I ain't go nowhere except for my OV to Carolina. I was like, man, let me go to a couple of games like before like I can't do this anymore.
That's right.
Let me take a couple more visits, like just soak it in real quick.
Well, let me ask you this. So like nowadays we've got the transfer portal era, which even when guys hit the transfer portal, that's a different recruiting process, than high school because it's so like condensed. It's like if guys enter the portal, it's like even more of a business decision, I feel like, because you're trying to go get developed like quickly. But how do you kind of, you're going into year 2 here, like when you're just kind of assessing, right, you didn't start last year, right? But you had some guys in front of you. You're going to have a great opportunity to play. Like, how do you go through each off season? And you've only had, this is really your first like off season after a actual football season. Like, how do you assess things of like, okay, I need to be happy where I'm at. I need to go get my opportunity, as opposed to like, oh, I wonder if the grass is greener. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I feel like it honestly like depends on the type of person because I like to compete. So it's like I have no problem competing for a spot because if I'm gonna show my best, and I don't know, who knows, like somebody else's best might be better than mine, but that season, like just the starting lineup at the beginning of the season isn't gonna be the same starting lineup at the end. Like compete, like it's always competition. So I feel like if I can outcompete, I can get there. So I feel like it just depends on the type of person you are. Like before you get in the portal, like grass might be greener, but I don't, you might not see that brown spot through the picket fence or whatever.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way to put it, man. So, all right, we're going to take a quick timeout. And back on the other side, we're going to look back a little bit more on Mike Smith's freshman season here at Carolina. And then, of course, look forward to 2025 and year two and all that's coming here in the near future. So we'll take a quick timeout and be back. More with Michael Smith here on the Gamecock Club Hour, presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. All right, I'm back here. Chris Clark, you're listening to the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating, hanging out here with Mike Smith from Gamecock Football, going into year two. So let's look back a little bit more, Mike, on, season one. And how do you feel like you grew from, you were telling us earlier your biggest adjustment from, high school, the SEC level was blocking, right? But I'm sure you had a lot of growth just from like game one to, the Clemson game, or even, developing throughout bowl season or whatever it may have been on and off the field, right? So how did you see yourself grow the most throughout the course of your freshman year?
Being able to, be in more positions, because, beginning of the season, it was more so like I'm going in only in 12 personnel to be that F receiver. I felt like towards the end of the season, I was more comfortable taking like those Y reps and like those attached to the ball tag A reps. Like I was able to do more. And honestly, I ain't gonna lie, I came from just watching Josh, like just the way he, developed his body, the way he treated his body, and like the steps he took. I don't know, his tight end stand, like simple things like that. Just watching him, how he did it. So I was just kind of took out the way he did.
Yeah, that was actually, you actually read my mind, stole my next question. I was going to ask you, what you learned from Josh, who, did quite well for himself at the NFL Combine. Brady Hunt, man, another guy who, actually, like you, he was in his first season at Carolina this past year, but he's a guy who's been around college ball for a while. So are there any other, big picture things that maybe you didn't mention that you learned from Josh that you took away from, just working with those guys and being in the room with them?
It's a lot I took from Josh. Like I honestly kind of stole his whole bag, and it's like, I'm still learning from the guys in the tight end room. Like Brady, the way Brady and Josh, they've been around for a while, so it's like, they know more than me. So if they ask a question, I'm like, okay, it's a good question I need to write down. Or if Brady says something in a meeting, or Josh or whoever says something, it was like that made more sense to me than like, you feel me, like the way coach might be explaining it. I would write that down, because hey, I was still 18, and I don't know, Josh was almost 40. So he knew more than me. So I was just taking notes. So
I love how subtle that was. He's almost 40. It's kind of true though. My guy's been around a while. No, we love Josh though. Yeah, that's a funny guy and a heck of a football player. So, this year you mentioned last year, the growth, the blocking, being able to play more positions from a versatility standpoint. What do you think the next step is in 2025? Obviously, you've got to, get you back on the field, get you back healthy this summer and into preseason camp. But what do you see as, next step for Mike Smith?
Honestly, I want to be on the field as much as possible. If they go 10 personnel, I'm still out there, but just as a receiver, I just want to. I want to find it back to as comfortable as I was in high school. Not trying to because it's two completely different ball games, but I want to get back to that level, being on the field first through fourth down, just always on the field.
From what you've seen so far, and obviously, again, for those who didn't hear in the first segment or hadn't heard Coach Beamer throughout this spring, Mike's not going to be participating in spring ball, be back and good to go for the 2025 season, though. But what have you seen from Coach Shula's offense so far? If you could can you find a way to maybe describe it, or what are your overall impressions of the style there?
It's more advanced. Like I see more like not really advanced. It's more broken down than like we can. I feel like it's more that can be done. Like like it's like that creative gene can get active and that playbook and like like it's gonna be. Hey, we're gonna do something with that one. That's all I got. Without saying too much, we're gonna do something with that.
So one of the big storylines going into the spring was this receiver group, right? And I think a lot of kind of a lot of storylines, even subplots within that, because you've got some guys returning, right? Like Nick Harbor, Jared Brown, Dre, Mazeo Bennett, etc. But you've also got a group of 6 receiver signees. 5 of them are on campus, and man, we've been hearing some pretty good things about the young freshman wide receivers. What do you see from that room so far when you've been observing this spring?
Man, I feel like you can't go wrong. Like it's some great competition going on. You feel me? And I feel like everybody just doing their thing. Like everybody look comfortable, everybody flying around, and everybody making plays. Like you can't. It's not a bad thing that you can really mention about any of them. Like they are some dogs, and they showing that they are some dogs.
One of the themes that Coach Beamer has talked about, and I've heard a lot of the players talking about it too, so it's pretty clear that it's been discussed a lot and it's kind of sticking in y'all's minds, but this idea of going farther, right? Like y'all had a really good, really strong year last season. Obviously, we're very close to the college football playoff, but trying not to be, I guess, complacent in that and trying to take things further. What does that, when you hear that message from Coach Beamer and the staff, what does that mean to you, and how do you take it, as a player to try to apply it to your prep?
As a player, that's just I see it as not getting comfortable. Like, like okay, we went 9-3, but like that was last year's team. Like, what can this year's team do? Like, just because I was on that team don't mean like we going 9-3 again. Like, what can this team do to go? You feel me? Farther, like do better, be better. Like, and that just breaks it down to like every individual. Like, don't get comfortable with the where you at. Like, just because you start, like it's always somewhere you can improve or more that can be done. Like you gotta improve. There's always room for improvement. You feel me? Gotta fill up that space.
You've had so far some really good descriptions of, maybe your teammates, whether it's individual guys, Josh Simon's age, making fun of that, or or some other players. But so I have to get your take on a couple guys. How do you describe watching some of the stuff that Lenora Sellers does on the football field?
This spring, man, like I said, we always compete. So, like, there's been some controversial sack calls in practice because I definitely see Lenore's getting out of those pockets. Like, just honestly, like in game, I question what he does sometimes because I remember if I could take it back, Vanderbilt game, I had an arrow route and I turned around to see a linebacker come clean, like untouched. And I'm like, oh yeah, plays that. And I just see Lenore stand back up and throw a 40-yard pass down the field. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, I guess that's my quarterback. Like, all right, I got you.
Yeah. It's almost like you would kind of rather some of those plays not happen because, I mean, even Lenoris will get sacked sometimes on those, but it's like, if you can do that, cool. Like, not many guys can do that stuff.
And it's like right after play, I'm like, yeah, that's going on the highlight reel. So it's just like, you look back on it and it's just like, hey, bro, that was crazy. Do you know what you just did? He'd be like, nah, bro, I just got it. Like, it just happens. Like, I don't even think he'd be planning that. Like, yeah, I'm going to flip this dude off the top of my shoulder.
Oh, he's so nonchalant about it.
Yeah, and then like, you feel me? Flip the ball, come back. I'm like, bro, do you realize what you just did? Like,
it's crazy. All right, so what about Dylan Stewart? Have you ever had to try to block him in practice one-on-one? Talking about blocking.
I try to come to a truce with Dylan. He don't really listen. But like, it's like blocking him. I'm just like hoping he's trying to work new moves or something. But it usually don't end too pretty. But like, I'm on that now, so it's like, you feel me? Fall camp, like I want all that. So,
hey, that's a good way to improve. Try to block him. There's no doubt. Yeah, I mean the get off is crazy. It's all crazy. So, All right, Mike, let's go off the field a little bit. Last minute or so here. What do you like to do away from ball? You got any hobbies or anything?
I'm trying to find more things to do. Like I'm on campus a lot now. Like
Yeah.
just walking around. Like I might not have class. Like this past Thursday, I can have class, but Jalewis, he had a speech class, and I just wanted to see his speech. So I just sat in his class and just watched his speech. Like, why not? It's just like it's a lot of things that can be done. Like it's a lot of buildings I haven't been in, a lot of events I haven't attended. So I'm just trying to find more to do. But other than just trying to find things, I'm usually at home just like playing the game. It's not really much going on. I'm trying to stay out of as much trouble. That's usually what I'm told before I leave a building. Like stay out of trouble. Don't get tired of doing what's right. So
yeah, you 2K or Call of Duty? What you got going?
I'm usually on 2K, but
Okay.
nobody. You feel me? I play 2K with Jalewis, but he's not the best. So I'm just waiting for him to improve before like we get back on that.
Well, how did he do in his speech? Did he get an A from you? I don't know what he got from his teacher.
From me,
but...
like he hit every point. Like I feel like it was. If I was a teacher, I give him a 93. He stuttered twice. Like I ain't gonna. I'm gonna take some points off of that. But other than that, it was a good little speech.
That probably made him nervous, man. That you came and watched him.
And honestly, that classroom had at least like 7 people at most. Not at most 10 people, at least 6. Like it wasn't that many people in there. So,
all right, awesome. Well, Mike, hey, I appreciate you taking time to hang out with me today, man. Wishing you all the best as you continue to get healthy. Can't wait to see what you got in store for year 2 if we don't talk to you before then. But thanks for hanging out with me today, man.
I appreciate that, man. Appreciate you for having me.
All right, that's Mike Smith from Gamecock Football. You're listening to the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Schooling and Heating. More with Gamecock athletes on the other side.